Hey, welcome to Epilogue. I'm really excited about this episode. We are joined today by special guest, Dr. Dustin Ellis, our pastor of Care and Recovery Ministries, and Glenn Robinson, who leads our Lighthouse Ministry for folks with family members in the LGBTQ community. And so really excited about this conversation today and hope you enjoy it. Well, Dustin, it's good to have you on again. Thanks for being here.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, you're wearing glasses this time, so thank you for
I've aged.
upping your image. I appreciate it. It's good. So and Glenn Robinson, thanks for being here. We're glad to have you here today.
It's scary to be here.
It's scary to be
But
here.
I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. Well, Glenn, you and your wife, Carol, obviously you're leading a really important ministry in our church called Lighthouse. And love for you to just, for those that are watching and aren't familiar with Lighthouse, tell us a little bit about what it is and how it got started. And,
Sure. Begins 11 years ago or so.
Hmm.
My son, who came home from college during his sophomore year, I believe,
Hmm.
on his way back to the airport to leave again, kind of came out and said, "Hey, Dad, I'm gay." So, and then got on a plane and left.
Yeah. Wow.
And that began the journey that has me sitting here, really.
Yeah.
I went through a lot through those years, just trying to, how do I handle this?
Yeah. It's very
Kind of,
personal for you. Yeah.
right. And through it all, 6, 7 years into it, the Holy Spirit just would not stop nudging
Mm.
to, you got to share this, and you can't be the only one in a church our size
Sure.
going through something like this.
Yeah.
There's got to be others that I could at least share with and help, ideally. And that leads us to last summer or so, when I came to see Dustin and kind of told him what was on my heart and the story,
Hmm.
and to see if there might be a place to bring people together,
Yeah.
small groupish, like
Yeah.
people with a very unique similarity
Hmm.
of having a child or a grandchild or a brother or a sister
Yeah.
or a grandparent, or you name it,
Yeah.
that is in the LGBTQ community.
Yeah.
And how best might we love them
Hmm.
without compromising anything theologically.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, because that's, man, that's so needed in the church today. Because I think, more and more Christians are just going, I don't know how to interact around this issue. I don't know how to enter into a relationship with somebody, especially in my family that's close to me. And what do I do in X, Y, Z situation, and how do I handle it? And so, yeah.
Exactly.
Oh.
Exactly. So Lighthouse just came to me one night as I feel like I'm in the middle of the ocean,
Hmm.
and it's an ocean of complete acceptance and celebration for the community. But I have all of these theological beliefs,
Hmm.
and how do I reconcile that
Yeah.
with my loved one?
Yeah.
And so that's where the name came from.
Yeah.
I got to be just a flicker of light
Yeah.
in this ocean of acceptance that
Yeah.
that we Christians live
Hmm.
in this world.
Yeah. Yeah. And really, I mean, when you're talking about that, how do we love without compromising beliefs? And I mean, that's really the Jesus in Matthew 22. It's they ask, what's the greatest commandment? And he goes, well, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. And he said, and the second is like it. It's love your neighbor as yourself. And you go, oh wait, like, so I know I'm to love God, which means I don't compromise my beliefs. I honor him and how I act and what I say and what I think. And, but then I'm to love people. And sometimes those things can seem at odds. And so that's where this gets tricky. And so I love that you guys have been through it and you just want to use your story to help others navigate it. Yeah.
Yeah, life gets messy.
Yeah.
So how do we best do this, and
Yeah.
how do we best share it? And like I said, I can't be the only one,
Yeah.
and there's others out there. So
Yeah. Absolutely.
that's kind of the origins and how we got where we are.
Yeah.
and hope to move forward a little bit.
Yeah.
The group is not necessarily a let's come read Leviticus and go home.
I hope not. Yes.
uh, because the church in general has not, I don't feel, treated this topic
Hmm.
maybe as best as they could.
Yeah.
Really good about shouting truth, which
Yeah.
I'm all about,
Mhm.
and not so much about what Jesus might have done.
Yeah.
About go and sin no more
Mm.
to the lady that was taken in, doing the act of adultery, and
Yeah.
go and sin no more. But like you said, love your neighbor. It doesn't say love your neighbor except if they're XYZ.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So we got to find the middle somewhere, and I'm hoping
Yeah.
um, to share
Yeah.
with others. And the Lord has really brought us some really fantastic people the past
Mm.
year
Mm.
in our group,
Yeah. That's
um,
great.
helpers, and I call them co-facilitators because
Yeah.
I can't speak to every letter.
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, because I just haven't lived it, but
Yeah.
I have lived one of them.
Yeah.
So,
That's right.
and now we pretty much got the letters covered.
Mm.
With our facilitators and the people that
Wow.
have come. It's been tremendous.
Yeah. Man, that's great. I love that. I love the way this community is formed around this ministry. And man, it's great to have other like-minded believers walking through this together and supporting each other and encouraging each other when it's difficult. And yeah, so that's really awesome. So real quick, Dustin, I mean, obviously, like you guys came together at some point to establish Lighthouse Ministry. So why don't you talk about that from your perspective and the need that you saw and how Glenn and Carol came in and met that need and
Yeah, I think it might have been Mike that initially connected the two of us, Mike Arnold, right? And
Probably.
we
yeah,
are in a small group together, and it's our director of men's discipleship here. Plug for
Mhm.
Mike.
Yeah.
And we sat down and we talked. I heard their story,
Mm.
and what impressed me the most with well, what really impressed me with Glenn and Carol is their deep concern in their life to make certain that they had a relationship with their son.
Mm.
And their priority wasn't condemnation. Their priority wasn't, like you said, I think you said a minute ago, that we're good at focusing on the truth. And by that, I think maybe just part of the truth, because part of the truth is there, but the other part of the truth is relationships matter. And we can't
Yeah.
be salt and light to people if we don't have a relationship with them.
That's
And
right.
we can't have a relationship with people when we're shouting in their face.
Yeah.
And Glenn and Carol were so focused on their growth and how it led them to want to maintain a healthy relationship with their son so that they continue,
Mm.
so they could continue to be salt and light to their family, to the people that they love. And when you see someone whose heart is relationship focused, and then not to the detriment of the truth, I'm not here saying that it's relationships, everything, the truth doesn't matter, but you don't get to share truth without relationship. And the
Mm.
relationship really has to come first.
Yeah.
And I saw that in them. So I was excited to get to work
Yeah.
with them. I was excited for us to get the group going. It took a while, but we're here, and I'm glad we're here talking about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Same here. Yeah. And yeah, I really appreciate you coming on here to share too, because this can be like we said, just a tricky topic to navigate. And when we talk about people in this, like you and Carol, um, you've got a spectrum of how we navigate this, right? Like on one end, it's like we're just going to cut off all ties, right? We're going to sever the relationship, all the way to like, well, how far do we go? Like, do we, questions that arise in these situations are like, okay, if I have a son or daughter that identifies this way and they want to get married, do I go to the wedding and what do I do? How do I navigate this? And I don't know if you could speak to just some of the situational things that you guys talk about or discuss or just challenges people are dealing with.
Well, part of the kind of the goals I set out for the group um, is to be a safe community first,
Mm.
for people to come and feel like they can share
Yeah.
and not have the sideways look that
Yes.
they might not necessarily get amongst others in the
Yeah.
congregation, so to speak.
Yeah, but everybody there is going, I know exactly how that feels,
Yes,
It-
yes.
And you and I talked about that, I think, in one of our first meetings, that for other people, if they have an issue with their kids, an issue with their family, it seems to be okay to share.
Mhm.
But whenever this issue comes up, you sort of have to feel like you have to preface it differently, deal with it differently, and that makes it just generally harder for people to talk about.
Yeah.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. And there's, a lot of a tear shed
Yeah.
on those initial conversations, which
Mm.
is I totally get. I tear up even thinking about it now, but just to have a safe community with support, uh, resources that might be shared amongst the group. That
Mm.
just, I would have loved to have a resource when it first hit me. I
Absolutely.
didn't really have anything
Mm.
except myself, so that's big as well. Um,
Yeah.
because I learn pretty much from the group every time we meet,
Yeah.
myself, and I hope to share, a little nugget of wisdom here and there
Yeah.
with myself as
Oh,
well. So
and I imagine in that group, I imagine everybody's like, "That's good. I'm gonna take notes there." Like that. Yeah. That.
yeah, there is,
Yeah.
there is. So
Yeah. Um. So in terms of, what are some of the situational things? I mean, without
okay.
going into, I mean, you don't have to share stories, obviously, but just what are some of the challenges people are dealing with?
Um, thus far, primarily it's keeping relationship with that
Yeah.
loved one or
Yeah.
whomever it is in their life that
Yeah.
they want to keep and not lose. Whether it be a trans situation,
Mm.
um, a situation, whichever letter it is. I've seen the heart of people want to keep that relationship as best they can, again without
Mm.
compromising truth. Um, so pretty much every topic you might think of has probably been discussed.
Yeah.
We won't go into here, but you can imagine
Yeah.
it's heartbreaking for a father to find out maybe his daughter wants now to be not a daughter anymore,
Yeah. Yeah.
and migraine walking through that.
Yeah.
We don't want them to go through that alone
Yeah.
or feel like they're alone necessarily. So
Yeah.
a small group on 2 times a month is what we're trying to do.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I guess when it comes to one of the things that's challenging, and maybe you can speak to this a little bit, obviously from just personal experience, but I would see one of the challenges in this. I mean, obviously, there's so much of uh, a person's identity wrapped up in this. I mean, that's what we're talking about. What do you identify as? It's not an identity these days is not. It's not something you're given. It's something you choose, right? And or I mean, in our culture is what
Yeah,
I mean.
right, right, right.
And so rather than my God-given identity, I'm going to choose this, and and really for a lot of folks in the LGBTQ community, that gender sexual identity is at the heart of what it means for them to be human,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And so, like, how do I disagree theologically, but not dehumanize them
exactly.
when they're finding their humanity? And I don't know if you guys deal with that, or like is that at the core of
I think
where the
every participant so far has dealt with that in some
yeah.
capacity, and it's ongoing
Hmm.
because you want to keep that relationship.
Yeah.
Um, we my facilitators can dive into the weeds of their situation,
Mm.
and it really helps others in the group. I think. Excuse me, I'm lost for words there,
Yeah, it's okay.
but
Yeah.
Well, and
Yeah.
hearing you talk, and I don't know if this is good to hit on, but we're talking a lot about how to help people and equip people to be salt and light. And maybe I said that, but hearing you talk now, it really dawns on me that it's not just about that, but helping people not feel like they're alone in this journey. It's not
Mhm.
just about equipping you; it's about providing you with a spot where people understand
Yeah.
what you're going through, and if they're 15 minutes ahead of on this journey, they've maybe got some nuggets of wisdom to
Mhm.
pass down to you,
yeah,
so that you don't feel alone, so that you do feel like there's that bright little light out in the darkness leading you someplace.
yeah,
Mhm.
fellowship and community was
Yeah.
kind of the keys that
Yeah.
I was hoping to bring, and hoping to bring to those that might need it.
Mm. Mhm.
So far, I've got pretty positive reviews from everyone
Yeah.
that's joined us and that are able to come when they can.
Yeah.
So it's no, I guess that's just the Lord
Mm.
winking every now and then.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. That's good.
um,
Yeah.
so we want to continue to do that and provide that community and
Mm.
support and fellowship.
Yeah.
Because, like I think Dustin said at the beginning, or maybe you did, I forget. When you're sitting in that circle, um, everyone has that one thing in common,
Mhm.
and it's across, you know, across all socioeconomic.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Um, and I just don't want people to feel alone
Yeah.
in that walk.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
And I know when you and I were talking originally, I think one of the concerns I shared with you that with the support group, sometimes if there's not a lot of definition, you run this risk of creating sort of a negative echo chamber
Mm.
where the room can get negative really quickly, and it begins to be a time of just complaining and sharing difficulty, and we end up commiserating rather than lifting one another up.
Yeah.
But as we've talked over the months, it doesn't seem like that's happened at all. You really do have a genuine community of people who want to step forward
Yeah.
gracefully and rightly. Uh,
yes, we do,
Yeah.
and it hasn't devolved into any of that, which is I think has been
Yeah.
is great. I try to keep a try to keep a cap on it,
It's good.
but when people want to share, they want to share, and they need a shoulder and an ear
Mhm.
uh, of somebody that kind of knows what they're feeling.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Yep,
There needs to
and
be a safe place to talk. Yeah.
there we
Yeah.
come back to that safe place. Yeah.
Yeah. It's good. Well, Glenn and Dustin, I mean, just a question for you guys while you're here. I mean, this is obviously June. Every June is Pride Month. Nationwide, 1999, Bill Clinton declared June Pride Month, and I think for a lot of Christians, the question is like, what do I do with that, right? Like, how do I interact with people? I'll go into different stores and there's, they may be advertising for Pride Month and should I, I think for Christians, sometimes they're going to, what does my conscience say? And do I support that business? How do I interact with people? What do I do on social media? So I don't know if you guys have any, particularly looking at you, Glenn. I mean, obviously, I don't know if you have any principles that have come from your Lighthouse Ministry that.
I liked your social media bit.
Yeah, we were talking earlier before the show, and you mentioned some things not to do, and I thought that's helpful.
I saw a post from some Christians, a meme that standing alone in and of itself is completely theologically correct.
Yeah. So that loving God part is there, like maybe like I'm standing for the truth, and
and the response to it from a member of the LGBTQ community was what you might think it would be on social media. Like, so you also believe that we should be maybe murdered or something, something along those lines. And I'm like, first off, this is probably not the place to debate the times of the times we're in. Secondly, I don't see how that was a positive in furthering the relationship of the people involved. And now you've kind of left a mark across the World Wide Web. And non-Christians might see that and think, well, there they go again. The bad Christians, they think we should all die and just go down that rabbit hole. And that's the reputation, unfortunately, we churches get because of the bad press.
Yeah. And sometimes that's what's happened. That is what happens when we try to win an argument on social media. We don't win friends. We're not. It's we.
And I believe the intent was probably
absolutely
good.
Yeah.
But the how it ended was probably where they wanted it to end.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, on the one hand, now you have um, a Christian that was trying to maybe do what they thought was right and
Mm.
convicted to do, and on the other hand, you have there they go again.
Mm.
So we are in the middle somewhere, and it got to be more like. I keep coming back to it. Got to be more like Jesus. And
Mm.
what would he do?
Yeah.
What examples do we have that when he dealt directly with sinners and sinners that we kind of repel from?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. So
If
he's
I-
hanging out with tax collectors in the day that everybody hated, and he's spending time with them.
and
It's not condoning their practices, but he's loving them.
yeah, every situation we see,
Yeah.
he's loving them. So
Yeah.
we got to be that light
Mhm.
that does that. So hopefully, in our group, we try to find how best can we do that
Mhm.
and not push away. At the same time, not compromising our
Mhm.
truth. It's not an easy tightrope.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's why I need all of my facilitators.
Yeah. 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 It's good. Yeah. Yeah. You're not in it alone. You got help from others in the class. I mean,
do.
what I love about that is you're leading this class, but you got people that are your support group now.
Yep.
Like that. Yeah. So
Yes,
that's
yes,
cool.
I do.
Yeah. Dustin, I don't know if you have anything to add just
No.
to how we navigate.
Yeah, I like what Glenn's talking about on social media. I don't think social media is a fantastic tool. We shouldn't abandon it.
Mm.
I mean, this probably will end up somewhere on social media, and it's a good platform. At the same time, I don't think we're winning arguments on social media. I don't think it's a way to engage the world, but it's not the best way to engage our neighbor to build relationships. And in response to what believers need to do on Pride Month with shopping in stores, I think people are going to have to decide for themselves. They're going to have to pray.
Mhm.
They're going to have to seek that out.
Yeah.
But I will say, if you want to focus well this month, build relationships with your neighbors.
Yeah.
Get to know the people in your community, regardless of their sexual orientation, their sexual preference, whatever their lifestyle. Get to know your neighbors. Get to know the people around you. That's what we should be doing every month. And I don't think that should be special this month. And if it's something that you haven't been doing, definitely this month is a time to get after that. I don't know that I won't criticize the idea of like taking back the rainbow, and you see some initiatives that are out there that it seems, in my opinion, seem to be a bit combative, because we introduce people to Jesus first, and then Jesus does the work.
Mhm.
And I think sometimes we put the work first before Jesus, and that's not the path forward in Pride Month. That's not the path forward in January or
Mhm.
February or any other
Yeah.
month of the year. It's introduce people to Jesus and live in a way that is inviting, so that they can meet Jesus and they see Jesus in us. And
At the end of the day, I want to make sure, hey, is your loved one saved?
Mhm. Yeah.
I don't care what his or her letter is.
That's right.
Are they saved? And if your relationship with them can bring him to that,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's what it's about.
Yeah. I watched this it's a video recently on YouTube, and that's one of the things they said is a longing comes before belief. Like when we're trying to reach somebody, like we want them to trust Christ. We want them to see their need for a savior, and that's not going to happen if they don't feel loved by us, right? I mean, like,
Same thing if it's a believer that's in that lifestyle.
yeah,
Ideally, you don't want them there. I
Mhm.
don't want my son there, but
Mhm.
it's where we are, and
Yeah.
I'm very thankful that I have a belief that he's a believer from when he was a child and accepted.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
that's great. So it goes to both
Yeah.
those that might be just walked away from the Lord,
Mhm.
and those that maybe not know him yet.
Yeah.
Regardless, it's we got to keep that relationship and
That's right.
and reflect Christ.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think when it comes to navigating any of this, if it's just generally like entering a month like June, it's Pride Month. And my question, I think, like even a challenge for myself is like, I mean, obviously, if you have a family member, it's different. But it's like, question for myself is like, who do I know in my life that is in the LGBTQ community that I could ask questions of? Like, if I don't have somebody that I can say, hey, what do you think about Pride Month? What do you think about brands changing their logos? Do you like that? Or how does that make you feel? If I don't have somebody I can dialogue with, I probably need to have somebody in my life that I could ask that question of, right?
Right.
That I can love as a neighbor and share the love of Christ in that way and build bridges for the sake of the gospel, right? That's
Curiosity goes a long ways.
Yeah,
to
just
developing a relationship.
Yeah,
What's it like to
absolutely.
be you?
And you can do that without compromising truth.
I agree.
You can do that without compromising truth.
Yep.
Just,
Yep.
yeah. Anyway, well, Glenn, thanks so much for being on here today. Really appreciate you. Dustin, thanks for being here as well. Really grateful for the ministry that you and Carol lead. Grateful for that community and the way you guys are helping each other through some challenging waters at your Lighthouse,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Is it okay to promo Lighthouse? And times and dates?
Absolutely.
So
Yeah,
we-
let's talk about that.
Second and fourth Thursdays
Second and fourth Thursdays.
up here at the church at,
room 210 at 6:30.
and the last Thursday of June, the 27th, right?
Correct.
The 27th, we're going to do an open house. So we're going to have
Mhm.
food and drink. If this is something that you're curious about, or you want to come meet Glenn and Carol or some of the rest of the crew in the group, it's a fantastic night just to come and sit and ask some questions for you, for a friend, for a family member. You're going to love getting to know Glenn and Carol.
Yeah, absolutely.
That'd be great.
Great resource, great ministry. If you're not familiar with it and you're interested, come check it out. And we'd love to see you there. So thanks so much for joining today. And we'll see you on our next epilogue.